Okay, so on today's episode we're just going to try and finish all these joints and bits and pieces up. I've already started to go through and weld up and grind back some of these seams. Off camera I actually went and drilled out the holes and tapped them to put on the sides of the case. Obviously that pretty flat's not going to be there. I've taken the fans back out at the front so that we can go back to welding all the internals of the case. And then what I've done today is started welding up the mounts for the actual motherboard tray. I'm not entirely sure how much I'll actually get done due to the fact that we've got a fair bit of serious rain coming our way, much to Poppy's disgust. Hey Pop, is that rain going to spoil your ball throwing, Poppy? Hey? Are we going to get enough ball throwing in before it rains? Do you want this ball? Okay, so what we're doing today is we're actually going to start mocking up the grill for the front of the computer. I've just drawn it out on my welding bench at the moment and then worked out the cut list. So now we're going to fire up the cold cut saw. We're going to start hacking some of this off and we'll start welding it all together and seeing what she looks like. Okay, so we're going to pile these pieces all cut up now. So what we're just going to do is we're going to lay them out in the various shape. Some of these need a little bit of goob taping off them. But basically, to get everything laid out, this is going to sit up higher obviously. Like so. So then what we'll do is once we get everything laid out, I'll support that up there somehow, and then we'll tack weld everything into place, and then the whole thing will come up probably maybe a good inch or so, and then these side pieces will actually have somewhere between sort of 10 and 15 degree angle on one end so that they'll slope down and create that raised look that I'm looking for. So let's get to doing some more welding. Okay, so we've got the basic shape of the front grille sort of made up. I've cut out these pieces of flat bar with about an 11-degree angle on the end of them. So now what we've got to do is we've got to weld these together and then come up with the final positioning on the structure. Should look like that. And then we'll be able to start messing around with how far apart these have to be to achieve the same width as the case front, so that it doesn't look all wonky donkey. So do some more tacking and then we'll start working out angles from there. Okay, so we've got the first sort of iteration of the front grille mounted up. It's just held on by clamps at the moment. Not entirely sure if I'm happy with it how it is. I think it needs a bit of alteration. Maybe something more up here. So we'll continue playing on with that and hopefully knock out this case and have it all ready for paint very shortly. Okay, so we've gone through and we've just welded on a couple of little washers in these, some of the corners to bolt this thing onto the front of the case. So I'm pretty happy with how it's all turned out and how it's looking. So I've done myself a little bit of a mischief. It's just one of those things, you're going along, you're going quite well, and then all of a sudden you hear this snap, and you think, ah, shit. And as it just so happens, I accidentally snapped off the end of my M6 tap into the side of the case. Luckily, the case sides are only a 3mm wall, so there isn't really that much of it there, but because this stuff is actually harder than a drill bit, you can't drill it out. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to get a nut, we'll put the nut over the top of it, and then we'll fill it in with weld metal using the TIG, and then we'll try and simply just unwind it back out of the case. Little side projects. Okay, so what we're just going to try and do, we've got some 309L filler, and then we're just going to try and put a bead of weld metal on the end so I can get my little nut in there, and then hopefully wind this back out. What the fuck? that didn't exactly work out like I'd hoped. The piece of tungsten, well not tungsten, sorry, the piece of high-speed steel that these things are made out of decided that it liked the rest of the case more so than what I wanted to do, so alright, so we're just going to try and drill this out now. I don't know how well this will work or it won't work, but you're coming along for the ride. I suppose what I should do is centre punch it first. That is as hard as a diamond. Okay, so that turns out that that is immensely hard. I'd say that the high-speed steel has mixed with the carbon steel, or the mild steel I should say, and it was actually that hard that it flattened off the point of my centre punch. Okay, so what we've ended up doing here is I've abandoned trying to go through that again because the surrounding parent metals become that hard from the introduction of the tap material. I've just done a new hole just below it. This is a piece of aluminium. Now I'm going to just fill that hole in there. The aluminium won't obviously stick to the steel because they're incompatible metals, so we'll just patch that hole up and then you'll never see that it's even there. Okay, so what we ended up doing after that was we filled in the original hole where the tap snapped off in. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have used so many amps, which wouldn't have welded to the case, but you live and you learn. I've drilled and tapped a new hole underneath, and then on the actual case skin itself, I've gone ahead and put a piece of aluminium in behind the hole that I needed to weld over, and then welded the hole up using TIG in the case, and now I'm going to grind that back and then hopefully you'll never ever notice it was there. So I've also, in the meantime, I've mounted up the PCI riser tray down the bottom. That's just stacked in at the moment. And then the actual motherboard tray is sitting in the case. I created these two little holes down the bottom where I can route cables and bits and pieces through once it's all joined in there. Not entirely sure if I'll actually weld it in or I'll keep it as a removable item. Some of this stuff, like I think the PCI riser tray, I might do black, or I might just keep it all yellow and then go back in, mask off some areas and then paint them black. Not entirely sure yet. I've also been practicing my pulse welding. I'm trying to get that nice neat little stack of dimes look that everybody loves. It's been quite a while since I actually TIG welded, and I thoroughly love TIG welding. It's such a nice experience compared to stick or MIG. So I'm actually pretty happy with how the front of this has turned out. I've still got quite a bit of grinding to go yet, but I think we're nearly there. I reckon we're very close to being at paint. So here's the back side of the case. After looking at it for all of about 2.5 seconds, I decided that I would just bolt it through, just top and bottom. That way I can actually pull it out and either change to a different style of thermal tank case mount, or I can actually take it out, assemble components on the board, and then bolt it back into the case. So I think that's just going to be a lot easier in the long term. I'll trim those bolts off, obviously they won't be that long, and then that'll allow me to pull it out of the case and paint it and just get it looking how I want it to look.